here we are, the ladies of whatever and stuff, to have that conversation that, you just sometimes need to have. Mia, Pastor Gina, and Larisha here.
Hello.
Ladies. I've big girled for the last week, and I'm so proud of myself. Really, because I knew I had somebody to talk to about it. Because I had to have a real moment with myself. And when we decided 2 weeks ago about our topics for the next couple of weeks, who would have thunk that it would have fell into place? But listen to the message, so I won't be long with the story, but I have to tell you this.
Okay.
So I guess in September I went home, and on my way to the airport, my dad, we had the daddy-daughter conversations like we always do. And he said to me, he was like, you and Megan, you two are just so this, and you're so dynamic. You make me laugh. You're so smart. You're so giving. You're so loving, all these things. And at some point in time, I thought he was talking about himself, because he's describing to me how we see him, right? Okay. And so he said, but you, Mia, my baby will not accept a no. You hear no and it translates to yes. You hear a no and you are going to make it a yes. You hear a no and you don't even hear the no. It is a yes. You will turn a no into a yes. And when he said it, I knew where he was coming from, because like my whole entire life, I have made a way. My mother says you can't have a phone in your room. I plug it up in her room. I get the 3-inch cord and I stretch that thing to my room. Mommy, technically it is in your room. I have always been that person, right? But since he said it, I've been thinking about it, talk to my significant other about it, and just have real conversation, hearing what my father says, right?
Okay.
So when we decided to go home for Thanksgiving, we realized we were going to drive, because it was going to be the three of us. We were ready. We were excited. We're going to do this drive that I didn't really want to do, but I was going to do it because it was going to be fun.
You want the summer trip?
Oh, wait a minute. Because the question is that I make it to Baltimore. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So we reserved the car at the rental. Had the conversation with his mom, his son's mom. She was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Did all the things. Well, we had some damage during the hurricane, so we've had adjusters, insurance, that whole process. Making sure we got all these appointments together, having everybody come before we had to leave, blah 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 blah. We're in the week leading up to, we were to leave on Tuesday, so we're doing good, right? But I pre-planned, right? I'm a planner. So the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, right? Okay. So we're a week and 2 days out. Something says, call Enterprise about the car. Miss Ferguson, we see your reservation. You're good to go, blah, 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 blah. Oh, but Miss Ferguson, we see that, because of the holiday, now this is some Georgia shit. Because of the holiday, normally the deposit is like $300 for the rental. You know how they do the whole
yes.
Like,
only in certain states, and I will say, which is a shame, but it's not every state that has a hold. But go ahead.
But you ready for this one? But during this time of the year, it's usually a $700, $780 hold. So we're talking about $1,000 for a rental car.
What?
The rental was only $320.
$780? They must be stealing cars out of Atlanta.
So wait a minute. I want you to understand that I'm still back and forth with them about a hold that I had back in at least 2 months ago on a rental. So we're going to get there, because clearly here in the state of GA, things are just done different. But we're going to go past that, right? So I said, well, let me see, because our cars are we're not putting our cars on the road to travel to Baltimore. It wasn't going to happen. And so I said, well, let me check the plane tickets. Let me check. I said, you know what? The plane at this point now is cheaper than driving. We knew we were staying in a hotel when we got to Baltimore. We want to stay downtown because my father's moving, but he was also waiting for some things about his movers, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
I booked the plane tickets, but something happened, which I'm glad happened, because if not, we would have had a canceled flight. But basically, the flight was returned. I guess what happened was, like, we might have booked like maybe up to some of the last seats, and it was overbooked, and so it basically canceled out the reservation. So I'm like, okay. So I'm telling Chan, I'm like, I feel like this is one of those moments where I need to understand what accepting a no looks like. Right? I'm saying this to myself, and then I started saying it to him, and he said, well, baby, I know how important it is for you to get home to your family. Right. Now, my father keeps telling me, well, Chan and Boston, they are your family. Y'all about to get married. I said, I get it. But out of my 49 years, I ain't missed a Thanksgiving yet.
I mean, I understand. However,
but Gina popped into my head, because if my ass would have left Baltimore a long time ago, this wouldn't have been a problem. Because I thought about how many Thanksgivings has my father spent with his, you know what I'm saying? I'm really, because Larisha, to your point, you said it. Like, I think about how many Thanksgivings my father spent with us, his family, and not with his mom and his dad when they were alive. We didn't go to Richmond for Thanksgiving. We went for the summer months, but we didn't go for holidays. I think I spent maybe 2 Christmases with my grandparents when I was growing up. Other ones we spent, together. So I say all that to say that we ended up not going.
Okay.
I definitely was in my feelings for like maybe 6 or 7 hours. Before, like leading up to, but by the time Thanksgiving Day came, we went to dinner, we went to the movies. The next day we drove to Helen. I got to see the little German Holland town, whatever Helen is supposed to be. We drove to Stone Mountain. I had been one, so we did other things, and so
you created your own.
We created our own. Yeah. Because at 49? No, I'm not 49. How old am I? 48? 48?
Or 48.
Thank you. At 48. I finally realized what my father was saying. Like, sometimes I do have to take the no and just listen to the message. This has been happening to me lately, because remember, Gina, I was supposed to come to Jersey. What happened?
I'm about to say you did in summer. Yeah, you
but how I've taken it has gotten a lot better, because the first time I was like, oh, this is not happening. This is I'm going to find a way. And God was just like, nah, you're not going to find a way, because I ain't going to make one. I was like, okay.
I was just going to say.
And tenacity.
You were determined. Go ahead, Jean.
No, tenacity is good, but I think what we have to remember is all about perspective. When you take a moment,
tenacity has bitten me in my ass.
But when you take the approach to back up and look at the perspective, that balances the tenacity. Because to your dad's point, your dynamics are changing. Your immediate is about to be Chan in Boston. Your father and Megan, respectively, are going to be extended. Family is still there, but the fact of the matter is, you leave to cleave, to become one. You know what I mean? And so again, your dad knows your heart. You know what I mean? But when you
and there's so many ways that we can really gather now too. I mean, you could FaceTime, you could do a,
and that's what we did. They FaceTimed us while we were at dinner, while they were at dinner, and and it worked. But I think for me,
it's just being there.
Well, no, I had to. No, I'm okay. I'm okay with it, right? Because I had to learn, because some of my lessons in not taking the no would have been like, girl, you should have just taken the no, because you wouldn't have had that hard. You wouldn't have had to go through that hard lesson. So listening to the message, my whole thing is, it's not going to always be the message you want to hear. But sometimes
you have to listen.
Like my father said, I would have gotten to that airport and I would have sat in that airport and I would have had a cancel flight, or we would have gotten that rental car, paid way too much money for it, and who knows what we would have driven into getting from here to there. Or we would have got, all of these different things. Like, I'm trying to find all these different ways, when really we had a real peaceful 2 or 3 days just chilling. And when we in the car coming back from Helen, I said, wow, we've been driving around for about as much time as it would have taken us to get back from there to here. But we were doing all these things that we said we had wanted to do. So it's kind of like, take the no.
Taking no, it's not a bad thing. I think the reality is you try one way, you try the second way. But in trying those alternate ways, I think we got to be realistic with ourselves. There may be a possibility that even doing this, it may not happen.
Correct.
That's when you never allow yourself to understand, you know what, let me try this route.
Right.
Let me one more time. But guess what? If it doesn't happen,
it's not meant to happen. Yeah.
It's not meant to happen.
This summer, for my event. I mean, it was crushing, but like I said, no, you and Chan need to spend time together. Y'all need to date during these 4 days. Take a staycation because you're on the go way more than he is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And everything works itself out. It really does. But no's are not a bad thing. It's just not right now.
It's just not right now.
And that's what I had to remind myself. So I was just like, so when I looked at it today to see, okay, what's our discussion? What are we talking about? We knew it was communication, but I was like, how appropriate is this one? Because I wasn't talking myself off the ledge, but I was frustrated, and we sat here.
You were talking yourself off the ledge. Tell the truth.
And Jan was like, bless his little heart. But then when I finally called my father to tell him, like, Daddy, we're not gonna come. He said, well, Chan called me yesterday. And he said you got a good guy. He said we had a good conversation. One thing that man appreciates is you and your family. He said I have to appreciate him for that. And so when he came in the house, I was like, you talked to Ferg? And he was like, I did. And I didn't want to say anything because I think he and I realized it, but we were just waiting, like you had to figure it out. And he said, if you would have said today, like, let's go, I would have gone. But, it's no stress because we'll get there. He said, I told you, Dad, we'll probably get there before Christmas, maybe. But it just made me feel good.
It should.
It did.
That's a true partnership. I mean, because
there you go.
Again, he respects you for who you are. He does not try to change who you are because that tenacity will come in handy, as I'm sure it's already come in handy quite a few times, and it will continue. But again, the two most important men in your life, for them to be able
to communicate,
connection, and but again, if things had changed and you wanted to go, he would have still supported you. Daddy first, the heads up, Pop. This is probably what it's looking like, just in case. That's a beautiful.
They both know you very well.
Yeah, they do. They do. They do. And I think it means something. When I said to my father, I said, Daddy, you said that you had that conversation with me about how I will change a no into a yes. And I said, maybe this is that moment when I had to realize that not every no can be a yes.
And not every no is a bad thing.
No, it's not.
And it made me feel good. It made me feel good. But I definitely, I have to say, I looked forward to having this conversation because, I always feel good when we finish our chat. And it's amazing to me how our topics, they so line up with what's going on in real life. It's just like,
life.
Do I need to just pull out a couch and put a pillow down?
It's therapy.
Yeah, it is therapy.
It is definitely therapy. It is definitely therapy. So I appreciate it. But so now I'm just looking at things like, is this what I'm supposed to be saying? Is this what I'm supposed to be looking at? And I've been trying to practice being.
It's more adulting.
Yeah.
It's another level of adulting.
And that is exactly what we're all doing.
It's
adulting.
Level of adulting. We get to some stages and levels at different intervals. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to learn these lessons and to grow. I think it's humility.
Yeah.
Like when you can learn from it, and again, it's for your own good. That perspective is everything. How you choose
it is.
Yeah,
I agree.
It is. I agree. A lot of good things have happened. And what he said to me was, he said, you're going to call me the next day and something's going to happen and you wouldn't have known if you weren't there. And it did. And I was like, I was thinking the same thing. I said, it must be a reason why I'm coming. I was thinking the same thing. I couldn't fathom what it was. And I just stopped trying to figure out what it was.
Sometimes we don't need, it's like we think too much sometimes. Don't you think? Don't you agree? It's like we're like you said, you're a planner. Yes, overthink. Sometimes we just have to let it flow. Just let it flow.
As I've gotten older, I'm not traveling during these holidays. Like when we were in undergrad, Larisha would tell you my Thanksgiving started that Monday. Me and Kim was out because those are the worst times to travel. You live in Atlanta, so there's no way I would be at Hartsfield International Airport.
Gina,
It is a big travel week. And it's also a short holiday. That's the thing. I just know from having the kids in college. Picking anyone up from the airport Tuesday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
It's a lot.
Remember Ollie? Remember Papa? Me and Larisha, it was peanut fairs. That's how old we are, because Continental was in business. It wasn't even United.
Correct.
Peanut fairs. And that was our first flight home together in November. Pop Mocha Java during the
tell you,
run, but those were the 90s.
What is Mocha Java?
That's my grandfather.
That was his nickname. Mocha Java.
Oliver. Yep. OJ. Oliver Jackson.
Mocha Java.
Oh no! What happened when you guys went home? What happened?
No, I'm just
saying he was there to pick us up. He was there to pick me up.
Oh,
it was different in college, but we had the 2-for-1 fare. But it was different. Now you're talking about everybody travels and all of this stuff, and it's a lot. So when you plan for the holidays, that's missional work.
Yeah.
Like you got to think of all kind of possibilities. So my recommendation for you all as a family, and in the South, your kids get off. I would be out that Monday.
Yeah.
And I would be coming back that Friday. That's how we would do it.
But the difference is that Ferg was supposed to, his house is 90% packed up. So he was staying with me.
You go right there.
Well, it was so many things. It was so many things that were delivering the no that I just didn't want to hear.
Yeah, that was a lot. Now he's packing up the house.
The house
you all were staying in a hotel. You were driving hours for the holiday. That's a lot. Even just getting from Maryland to Philly, Maryland to Jersey, it's actually almost an extra 2 hours worth of traffic during the holidays.
Yeah. So that was my lesson.
So next year they can come to you. So that's what that could be something too.
So next year, we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
I talked to my family about that too.
Less is so much more.
Let me tell you, I love to cook and I love everyone in my house. But even everyone, they all said the same thing. Like, we can travel. Say less.
Because sweetie, they're adults. Now, see, in my household, that would be nice, except for who. And you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's to the point where, like, real talk, you stay. We ain't saying no names, but at some point, when is it about somebody other than
you? Yeah.
And doing things different.
Yeah.
Life is about newness. It's about freshness. It's about being less rigid and being a little more rigorous. Being flexible to change, because if you put the needs of others, God got a blessing for you in the midst of that.
And I think we're all, and I love tradition. Like, I even have, like, my kids laugh, I still have like candy dishes with like Andy's candies. Like, my grandmother always had that candy, like a dish with like the nuts that you have to use the nutcrackers with.
Oh yeah.
I love tradition. However, I do think that as they get older, we can kind of start our own traditions, keep some of the tradition, but maybe travel every other year, or it's just some different things we're thinking about, because it is kind of rigid. We do want to do some things.
And as kids get older, like, luckily my nephews, they do. I pick them up from school. I cannot wait to go to Mima and Papa's Thanksgiving. I've been waiting on this. You act like your mama don't cook. Okay, stop playing.
It's just different. It's different. I was the same way.
That was refreshing to know that they still enjoy it. But I was like, I would love for us to be in St. Martin like we used to be. You know what I mean? And my thing is, even though things are slightly different, as long as you still have life, live.
You can move.
Even though it may be a little different.
And it's your family. As long as you have family with you, why not?
Exactly.
But this is where, again, being that adult and having those difficult conversations. My whole thing is not being, again, in a place of emotion, not being in a place of anger, but once you really allowed yourself to think it over, be in prayer, these are the things where, no, you have to say what needs to be said. How it's received, it's not
control of that.
You need to get it off, because for anybody out there, at the end of the day, you got to give account to God. And nobody is above being spoken to.
Right.
Because anybody...
my big thing is the delivery. The delivery of the message, or what you're trying to say, is really... It helps the other person receive it the way that you want it to be received. So if you come off angry, loud, argumentative, that's how they're going to hear it. Just come off. Just the delivery. That's what I always say.
And be collected. And I have to say, that's where I am at this point, because when you have to put the oxygen mask on you, and you're suffocating and all of this other kind of stuff, and you're carrying burdens, but the reality is you're carrying them. because you don't address certain things. So even with you, Mia, not being able to accept the no will become burdensome because everything
listen, the weight that was lifted off my shoulders
of trying to figure out how to get home
the entire time. I mean, people don't understand, like, as women, right? You know, I'm like, well, let's make sure we don't have a certain amount of food left in the refrigerator because we don't want it to go bad. You know, so we're cooking what we have to cook so we can, you know, we're rationing out. We're trying to figure out luggage. And then when it went from driving to the plane, I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody gets it. So we start going to all these different buckets of thought mode. And the minute I said, Daddy, I just don't think we're coming. And he was like, baby, that is perfectly fine with me. You talk about somebody who went in Netflix and chilled. What?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Okay.
But a weight is lifted. It was.
But for a month, I had been planning.
Yeah.
For a whole month. My mind was like, okay, so what should I do? Do I need to get this one? I got to get the fish, an automatic fish feeder for the fish. And I got to, you know, all these things. And I'm going down Chan's checklist. Like, okay, baby, what do we have to do this week? And and I was just like,
it was fun and exciting because that was something new to experience.
Right.
But the prayer is we will have more opportunities to experience it. But yeah, the reality is we put the burden. And God is just looking like, okay, my child.
Okay, when you gonna come?
I'm gonna keep letting the string be pulled. As long as you gonna hang yourself, I can't.
I have been guilty of that a million times, so I don't even have anything.
Really, Larisha, you?
I mean, absolutely. Saying not being able to say no or being determined.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that is one of my traits. Yeah, it's like
the three of us are very headstrong.
Oh yes,
women.
And if something needs to be done.
That's little less right there.
Oh, less? Oh, absolutely.
No joke.
No joke. Yes.
Because
it's almost like if there's a will, there's a way. That's how I am. Like, oh, we can make it happen. But there are plenty of times where I'm like, but you know what? Derek is good at helping me with that too. Like sometimes he's like, we're not going to do that. Okay. Don't even put any more effort into it. It's no need. We're not going to do it. Exactly. Because I need that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Receive, because Shan does that. And I think maybe a year and a half ago, I would be like, what do you mean? Now I'm like, I'm going to do what you say.
Submission is a beautiful thing when it's the right person to submit.
Like, tell me what to do. I don't even want to think about this anymore.
Yeah.
That part.
Help me.
Beautiful thing.
Help me. Yeah. Because I will take myself through the motions, child, sometimes. And I think the misconception is that, you know, we always have the plan, but that plan, not only do you have the plan, but then when it starts to come like unravel, I was proud of myself for accepting the no.
But you made God laugh. Because if you want to make
because there's been so many things in my life that I look down, I'm like, I should have said no to that.
I should have said from the beginning. Like that's a big
no. All day long.
No.
All day long. Oh, that's a good way to end it too, Gina. All day long, all day strong. So
old school, but it's the truth.
Old school, but it's the truth. I was just excited about sharing it, and then when I saw the topic, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect," because I had to laugh at myself, right?
Somebody's gonna be like, "Hallelujah, sis is on my boulevard." Yeah, sweetie, you ain't the only one.
No, I told you.
Because you've learned. You know what I'm saying? And you still had a beautiful holiday. You still got to see family. Thank God for technology and all of these other advancements. Because during our peanut fair days, if we didn't make it home,
that was it. We just didn't make it home.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we pretty much made it home all the time. But then when you think about, depending on where you go to school or even just your family dynamic, everyone can't go home for the holidays. So
a lot of people didn't.
A lot of people didn't. And then let me give you the icing on the cake. So the day I told Ferg, like, okay, so Thanksgiving was on Thursday, Wednesday. So I must have told him on Tuesday, right? Because we were supposed to leave on Tuesday. So Wednesday, y'all, I found this baker here now. I'm loyal to my Cynthia because, to me, her icing is the best. That's my baby. That's my client, whatever. But I found a baker here. When I tell you, my mama, her spirit must know my mother's spirit, because her German chocolate cake tastes like my mama German chocolate cake. It is not dark at all. And so I have had a piece of this cake, y'all, every week. We would at some point in time, once a week, we would make it to this bakery probably for the last month. Okay.
Like my Chick-fil-A milkshake, I'm gonna lead you to back all the way up.
Well, I back up because I back up because no sugar. I'm not doing any sugar. I'm not doing any sugar.
You.
So
cut it off.
But I was
after no Sunday, sugar. It was no sugar. Okay,
no sugar. Sure. No. So this is water and this is tea. It's just chamomile tea. Like no, not even coffee. You'll be proud of me. I'm telling you, I'm growing up, being a big girl. So, but I told her, I said, we're gonna come back and we're gonna get some of this cake for Thanksgiving because we were gonna take some.
Oh, okay.
When we realized that we weren't going to go, we didn't put an order in for a cake because I was like, we could take the German chocolate cake, blah, blah, blah.
You were taking that cake on the plane?
No, we wanted to remember because it was the plane and it was the car and it was the train again. So I realized the cake was out of order, right? But I wanted this cake. So we go. We were supposed to go like 1 o'clock. We didn't get there till like 6.
Okay.
We get there. Their shelves were empty.
I was waiting for you to say it because the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. My whole face just dropped, but I already knew, and I was okay with it. Little tear rolled down my eye. Chan looked at me, and he was like, "Oh, my baby." So I walk away. They had a little. They had this banana pudding cheesecake that he loves. I just walked away and I just sat down. Now this lady, I was introduced to her by. She's an AKA. My girlfriend that introduced me to her as an AKA. Her friend who works there is a Delta. So every time I go, it's like, hey, sis, you know, So she knows me. Her name is Lisa. Girl, do you know I went and sat down? I put myself in the corner now. I was like, okay, God, now I'm accepting these no's now. But I mean, some of these, you make some of these no's again. So I sat down. I was like, damn, I can't even have my cake, right?
You had a tantrum. You had an adult tantrum.
Yes, I did.
Internally.
I did. Oh, girl.
Yes.
A tear rolled down my cheek. Do you hear me? I went and sat down. I was like, baby, go ahead, get your cake. I'm just going to go here and sit down.
Knowing she was mad.
Do you know?
Exactly.
Do you know that they came over to that table, Chan had a bag. He said, well, you know, I got me a piece of cake. And I just looked at him. He said, I got Boston a piece of cheesecake. And I looked at him and I thought, and in my eyes, that bag was only big enough for 2 pieces of cake, right? My baby reached in that bag and he pulled out another piece of cake, and it was the German chocolate cake. Aww. And then he pulled out another piece. You know, I just broke down and started crying in the middle of the food hall, y'all. And I didn't even care because I was like, okay, God. I was like, I took the no, you gave me a yes. I get it. Okay. Because all I wanted was that it was reminiscent.
So you think you were crying over that piece of cake? It was so much more than that piece of cake that you were crying over, just to let you know.
But you're right, because on the way home, I realized like my mother was traditional, right? So I remember like, and you know, I guess I go through these moments around the holidays, and it seems like the holidays are always leading up to something because it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, their anniversary. It's her birthday. It's her birthday. It's Easter, her birthday, Mother's Day. And it's always like, God, can we just get through the next 3 months? And it feels like 6 months later, you've been having these moments, and it's not a bad thing, but it's just a reminiscent thing. And I was like, well, I can't go home and be with my father and my sister.
At least let me have some cake.
I looked at Chandler. I guess I'm here with you. I'm here with you. But she tapped me. She said, you got a good man.
Yeah, we said that.
Like, I do. And so I was just like, I don't even know how I got to tell you guys about that, but that was just like, okay, God, all right.
When I say those emotions were running, yes.
Larisha, a tear. And I was
mad at myself. Were you in? That's what I need to know too. Were you ovulating?
Because we don't go through that anymore, remember? Holler, club no more.
I forgot. But let me tell you, but you still could, your body can still go through some of those emotions. We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, we'll have to.
It might be.
Either way, I'm glad you got your cake.
Yeah, I had a spoiled girl moment, but yeah, it all worked out. It all worked out. You know, learning myself still as we go and grow
every day. And guess what? We're still changing. That hasn't ended.
Yeah. And then I thought it was my caffeine deficiency, but I'm officially no creamer, no coffee. It's the mucus. I have a mucus cleanse that I'm doing. I have a candida cleanse that I'm doing. Water, peppermint tea. The only piece of sugar that I get is this honey that I put in this tea, and I don't even know why I put it in there for real. But I'm drinking.
Wait, you came off of coffee? No Dunkin'?
No, Dunkin'. That's a shock.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations, Mia.
The body will
I just want to be healthy.
That's it.
Oh, I agree.
Because I feel like I dedicate everything to everything else. And the one thing I am not doing is my health as far as just being healthy. And
that's one of the most important things. When I
start going down that rabbit hole about what mucus does, and it holds on to this and it does that, and it's all in this and it's all in that, and the candida and it does this. And, my father, every week it's a new vitamin. It's like, okay. I need to listen. So I just said to myself, I'm really, how people do the New Year's resolutions. I'm not doing that shit. I just said, I'm going to prep myself for what next year is going to look like. And next year is going to look like tea, water, tea and water.
There you go. Some herbal tea and water.
So this is tea. This is tea.
Very good.
And this is water.
Well, y'all stop doing it because I already got to go to the bathroom. So I don't.
So you go to the bathroom. So this was great.
It was.
WhutEvrNStuff. Yeah, I'm like, do not bring them liquids out.
But see how it all works out. I was looking forward to this. I felt like I needed it. It was just so much. Oh, and then I got a delivery. Gina, I have all three now. All three of the books.
Yeah, but guess what? I have to go through this because I don't know if this is in the right order. Yeah, we got to look through this because
which one is that?
This is the purposteful parenting.
Well, I have mine right here. So, that's the main one. Okay, yeah. We can go through it.
I have to review this because I may have to pull this and redo it, but I have to look at it. I didn't get a chance to at the dealership yesterday.
Okay.
Today.
Okay.
So yes, you have.
Yes, girls. So.
And I know you have to make it somewhere soon.
It's 7:54. As long as I get to them by 8:30, we gonna.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, okay. It's 7:54. Okay. So
we can tell them I ain't ate. I need my Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Are you getting a milkshake?
No, it's too cold.
No.
Okay.
It's too cold. And it's too late for that.
Okay.
No, I started doing a half and half. There's half and half is the only one I can tolerate.
I can't do any. I don't do dairy.
At all.
Honey, let me tell you something about
I haven't in years.
This peppermint milkshake from Chick-fil-A, girl, the way that black boy advertised that in them commercials last year, that premium peppermint that they use.
First of all,
I don't even
you should go on a show with tasting different milkshakes because remember what was it? The Quick Check milkshake she used to like? Wawa.
They turn that mint back to white. Give me my artificial coloring because mint is green.
Gina, we're not about to start that today.
We're not gonna start that. We're not starting it.
But we got into on this note, and I think it's in it's in DC. I ain't been there, but whoever puts alcohol in milkshakes,
it's the one. We gotta go.
Because let me tell you something right now.
She loves a milkshake.
I'm not an alcohol drinker, but you put it in a milkshake.
I can't even believe that your stomach can still
I know, understand. I don't understand it.
Chick-fil-A is premium and different. That's the only one, and it's only this seasonal one. I'm trying to tell you.
We had one 2 weeks ago. It is good. We shared one, Shannon and I. We shared one. It's sweet, but it's good.
Because if it was a large, I'd knock it out.
Convince this stomach who behaves. No,
I still think I can handle it. Yeah, but just Chick-fil-A. Everything is premium with Chick-fil-A.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. See, we're all smiling now. This is part of the purpose of just doing this. I feel good.
This was therapy. Woosah.
This was definitely therapy. It was definitely a great woosah. And now I'm getting the questions about, am I coming home for Christmas? And guess what the answer is? No. Sorry, you won't see me until 2025.
That part.
Okay.
More, not at all. So.
You RSVP your line, sister.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Exactly. Because she'd be messy.
So here we are again.
Make sure you RSVP.
The ladies. Doing what we come here to do, to discuss those things that just need to be discussed, and to be real about what life is really looking like as we get older, grow older, learn more, do more, all the things that are involved in life and maturity.
Because life is life, but in a beautiful way.
More than grateful.
Yeah, perspective. Yes. It's all about perspective. That's all.
All about perspective.
So fresh. Yes, indeed.
First, so you got Pastor G, Larisha,
hi,
and Mia, and we're out.
Bye-bye.
Okay, stay right there. Okay.